take projection.
Welcome back to Taking on Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
I am good. How are you today, sir?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. Back home in the Magic City here, and it feels good to be in one place for a little bit. But yeah, a big week in sports that we did not see coming. Thought we were going to talk, some football like usual, maybe a little baseball playoffs, of course. And then, news started dropping. We saw the Mel Tucker firing, officially fired. I thought, okay, well, maybe we can talk about that, as far as off
Right.
the field stuff.
Yeah.
And then the big booms came. Dame Lillard finally traded, not to Miami, to the Bucks.
For the
Just
Bucks.
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Just kind of give me your initial reaction on that trade before we get to all the rest of it that happened. Just how
I
did
mean,
you?
first,
Yeah.
I think like everybody, I think everybody's kind of like, where did that come from? I mean, obviously behind the scenes, the Bucks have been busy with it, but I mean, no one was thinking the Bucks. It's been Miami this whole time. We had questioned, where's Miami? What does Miami have to offer? Obviously, they didn't have what the Bucks had to offer, and they brought in the Suns in on the trade as well. But I mean, you would think right now. I mean, clearly the Bucks are the favorite
Mhm.
in the East for sure. And it definitely was a way to make sure that Giannis stays in Milwaukee because, you know,
Yeah, no, you know, that was going to be one of my questions is, do you think uh, this now makes Milwaukee the top team in the East again?
it has to, at least on
Yeah.
paper. I mean, I mean, you think about it. I mean, I mean, they got rid of course, Jrue Holiday was a big part of it, but I mean, you would think Dame Lillard is an upgrade. Um,
Especially offensively, because he's another
yeah,
guy that
offensively.
can just,
Yeah, I mean,
if Giannis isn't working, if Chris Middleton isn't working, Dame can
right.
create offense out of
He
nowhere.
can, right, exactly. And Drew was a dog on the defensive end, but scoring, at times
Mhm.
his shots,
Hit
at
or
times you're
miss,
like, my,
yeah,
yeah,
especially in the playoffs. And granted, he had his best offensive
right,
season of his career last year, I think,
he did,
but that's not what he's known for. Yeah. Um,
right. I mean, definitely a dog defensively, and then on top of that, I mean, you got to think Chris Middleton at times. You don't know if he's going to be healthy or not.
hmm
And that's a 16 to 20 points you're missing right there. Because
hmm
when he's on, I mean, Chris Middleton is a heck of a sidekick to Giannis,
hmm
um, as far as guaranteed buckets. And you probably bring in a guy that's, I mean, guaranteed 25 to 30 a night in Dame Lillard. I mean, he was still scoring a lot in Portland, whether they were winning or not. I mean, when
hmm
he's on, I mean, he's still one of the best guards in the game. So I mean, you would have to say for sure the favorite on as long as they gel well, and I think that this is good to keep Giannis, and also good I guess for Dame Lillard, at the I guess somewhat at the back end of his career,
hmm
gives him the opportunity to win, to see about winning the championship.
Yeah, and for any talk that Dame won't be happy going there, and he's going to get to play against the biggest unicorn in the league, one of the
Oh
best
yeah,
players in the league, at times the best player in the league. Dame's going to be
right.
happy. Um, and I think you mentioned Chris Middleton there. I think what this does for him is because people are going to be so focused on Giannis and Dame. Chris Middleton, when
Yeah.
he's healthy, he could eat in that lineup.
Oh yeah,
Um, that's he could have himself a sneaky like 25 a game
exactly.
year because people are going to be so focused on the other two that they're going to forget that, oh wait, this
Right.
guy's one of the top 20 offensive players in the league too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that
So
could be a scary team.
yeah, so in that trade officially it was a 3-team deal. The Bucks got Dame.
Yeah.
The Suns are the third team in it. They got Grayson Allen, Keon Johnson, Nas Little, and Nurkic. A decent little haul for them.
Right.
They finally got rid of DeAndre Ayton. That's the thing that kind of all really got swept
Yeah.
aside in all
What's
this.
Yeah.
So the return for Phoenix wasn't great, but they got off of that contract finally, which they've been wanting to do.
Right.
So we'll see if maybe they're not done. And so Portland
Right.
got
But I
eight
think
and go ahead.
no. So I was gonna say real quick about Phoenix. I mean, they have the stars. It's just a matter of getting the type of role players, and I think that's they did a good job as far as that. You got people that fill certain roles, certain pieces coming off the bench. People that aren't gonna. You don't necessarily need them to score. You just need them to
Mm-hmm.
be, productive when they're in. People you can, give you, max effort out there. And I think they, as far as that, they got the type of role players they were looking for to kind of level out what the superstars that we know that they have there in Phoenix. So.
Mm-hmm. So to finish, so Portland got Aiton, Tumani Kamara, Drew Holiday, and then they got let's see, some pick stuff. They got a 2029 first round pick. They got some
Mhm.
swap rights in 28 and 30. And
Right.
so, okay, that was a big thing, but we all knew that maybe Portland wouldn't be done yet. Drew Holiday is a maybe not in his at this stage of his career, someone that wants to sit around in a rebuild. So maybe
Right.
Portland might be able to wheel and deal him some more, and they
Mhm.
did. And we don't know if this is
Did.
where Milwaukee really wanted him to land, but Drew ended up in Boston now for Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams III, a 2024 first round pick that originally belonged to Golden State, and a
Mhm.
2029 unprotected first round pick. So now Portland got two 2029 first round picks out of this, both unprotected. And they got a pick in next year's draft. Boston gets a replacement for Marcus Smart, a guy that's arguably a better defender than Marcus Smart.
Right.
Um, they do give up Robert Williams III, but they got, Porzingis this all season. So now Boston, all of a sudden, they put themselves back in the argument for the best team in the East. And certainly
Yeah.
Drew Holiday saw some defensive problems they had. So yeah, what was
That,
your reaction to that trade?
well, it's pretty interesting. I figured Drew was probably not going to stay in Portland, but Boston, I wasn't thinking that.
Mm-mm.
Definitely. I think it's good for Boston, but they did give up quite a lot in order to bring Drew in. So,
Mm-hmm.
you hope for them that it works out because they definitely sold a lot of pieces in order to bring him in. And they may have overpaid, but maybe they feel like if that's the missing piece to get them over that hump that they've been in for a while, is worth it. So we'll see how it plays out. But
Yeah, it is another risky. It's not as risky as a Porzingis trade because never
no,
know his health, but you're giving up
right,
Williams there, who's your other big guy, and we kind of
right, and
wondered
that's
after they got Porzingis, well, would he move because
right.
between him now your big guys are Porzingis and now Horford, who just is old. Um, ooh,
Yeah,
that's
Porzingis plays no defense for real, and
yeah.
you're trying to stop Embiid, and you're trying to stop Giannis. So
Exactly. So, you can go small ball against a lot of teams,
yeah,
but against Milwaukee, who you would think is going to be your main rival in that conference now,
right.
that's interesting. So yeah, but that's not a bad five of Drew
No,
Holiday,
it's
Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, and Kristaps now.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
that's a on paper,
Broad,
that's a heck of a unit.
yeah, and Brogdon was allegedly unhappy there, wanting to change the
Right.
scenery, so he gets good. And then Portland still may not be done. They've kind of said like, look, we'd love to have him. He was a six man of the year. He'll probably be a starter in that lineup, but again, like, is he a guy that wants to stick around in a rebuild,
Right.
or is he a guy even that Portland can kind of shop around because they've said we'd love to have him, but also like yeah, like all things are on the table. So if a contender or some team wanting to jump to the next level comes around with a deal good enough, like hey, this is a guy that we think is the final piece to our championship puzzle, then Portland could turn
That into some more draft
and
capital and young
exactly, and
talent and whatever.
they could take that New Orleans at Oklahoma City route and just load up on picks for the
Yeah.
next decade. So yeah, a lot of just
They've
crazy
got
stuff going on in the NBA this
it's
week, man.
And if anything, Portland definitely has maxed out as much as they could off Dame Lillard. You know, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of teams, wait too long, or they end up letting them go on free agency, or they don't get near what they thought they were going to get back. But
Mm-hmm.
man, they definitely got the plethora of what they could and got the max out of it. You know, the amount of time he spent there, it was a good relationship for the run, and but at the end they made quite the haul off of Dame Lillard as well. So, good
Yeah.
for them. They didn't
Uh-huh.
they just didn't accept anything. And I think that was we had questioned. What does Miami really have to offer that benefits Portland? That they were willing to give up, and they really didn't. So
Yeah.
that trade really didn't make sense other than, of course, Dame wanted to mention he wanted to go there. Other than that, it
Mhm.
was no benefit to Portland at all because Miami wasn't going to send their talent there because then they'd be rebuilding themselves a little bit. So,
Yeah, Miami only had so much to give, and you'd have to wonder what getting a third team in there really could have done without a guy,
right,
like you said, without giving up too much. And so good, yeah, like you said, good for Milwaukee for not just giving in.
yeah,
And like we said, Dame's not going to be unhappy playing next to
no,
Giannis. He's going to get his shot at a title. He's
exactly,
going to be on probably the best team in the conference.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but crazy. And speaking of our other big trade candidate, sources are now saying that James Harden
He's
is
gonna,
expected to be at 76ers training camp. So we'll see how that all that
uh,
goes. Crazy. They've already started their fall practice, which they do at
right.
Colorado State. Interestingly enough, so
Yeah, I
we'll
think the
see.
main thing with that is there's no market. I mean,
Yeah.
he either goes there or he doesn't play. There's just not it's
Hmm.
just not the market. James Harden doesn't 5 years ago. Well, of course, he's going to have that haul, but
Hmm.
kind of what's happened and his on and off. He forcing it in and out of cities and messing up chemistry at times. I mean, I think teams are trying to stay away from that. So
Yeah, and I think another difference is too with this whole situation, like especially when you compare it to past Philly stuff, like with Ben Simmons, like
yeah,
his teammates still like James Harden. I don't think he's,
yeah.
uh,
He's
you know,
still he's not a hated guy.
yeah, he
I
just
think he's
wants to change situations because he's James Harden. Uh,
that's just his mo. Like,
yeah,
but I mean, he doesn't seem like he's a bad guy or anything, or really
mm-mm.
toxic. When he's on the court, I mean, he gets along with folks, and people seem to like to play with him. So
Yeah, he's not showing up to practice in sweats
yeah,
and with a cell phone in his pocket,
yeah,
But yeah, so that was the big week in the NBA. It was
right.
crazy. Um, Uh, we covered all. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, it's just funny. The NBA always seems, when it's kind of really starting to focus on, the NFL, college football, and baseball playoff, and the NBA always seems to be, hey guys, we're here as well.
Yeah,
So
right.
I make a way to get into the headlines one way or the other, which is funny.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that before, and I've mentioned the NBA really took a page out of like European soccer's book, where they kind of captured the off season. They realized how fervent fans can be about the off
Mhm.
season as well, just the moves and everything.
Oh yeah,
You can get just as much as attention for that as you can the games.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, so we'll move on to our main stuff as we do college football. Pretty big week. Um, after a huge week 4, another pretty good week on the gridiron in the college game this week. Um, we'll start with our boys in Crimson. Alabama went to Starkville, handled business. It wasn't pretty. No style points, but it's kind of joyless murder ball league. Just
Yeah.
running the ball.
Mhm.
The broadcast made a big deal out of no pass attempts in the first quarter. Well, they did try. Just Jalen took 2 kind of bad sacks where he held the ball a little too long.
Right. Yeah.
But he made a great play with his feet. Defense had a
Chicken.
pick 6.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of leaned on him after that. Tide did that. What they could. They played a really well. They played a great defensive game against Will
They
Rogers,
did.
who had exploded the week before.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that big game against South Carolina.
yeah, he went off against South Kakalaki. So yeah, good road win. It's never even though they've won what now 17 in a row, 16 in a row over state.
Yeah,
It's never easy in
since
the
old,
SEC on the road.
since Nick Saban's first year.
Yeah, since he got groomed. Uh, but it's never easy in the SEC.
No,
And they went on the road and they took care of business.
they did.
40-17
And
was the
it
final.
was kind of a old school, early Nick Saban. I mean, we saw fiery Nick Saban on the sideline getting on
Mm-hmm.
people. It was just physical. The defense was just making turnovers. I mean, nothing real flashy on the offensive side, but it was productive enough that you know, hey, it worked.
Yeah,
No one really stood out. It was just a good team effort. But
exactly. And when there's a great point. They started out a little sloppy. State kind of clawed back into it toward the end of the first half. Then Alabama got two quick touchdowns. Ran it down the field, got a running touchdown, and got a pick. Bad throw by Will Rogers. That was I don't know if the defense confused him or whatever, but he threw it right to our guys. And then they scored again, so it went from 17-10 to 31-10 right before the half, and
real
that was
quick,
yeah, and that really
real,
reminds you of prime Saban era Alabama. Just that defense making a play, and it's all of a sudden that game going from close to be like, okay, we know this one, how this is going to end.
yeah.
Um,
Nothing, no real, nothing really big. It just over time, just kind of suffocate, take air out the game.
mhm.
That's kind of what kind of got back to that, which is good to see. I guess I guess my only two concerns was I don't understand how Seth McLachlan's still having uh, his issues hiking the ball.
It's at least this one looked like it was more of just miscommunication.
Yeah,
That happens sometimes.
like man, this is
Jalen was obviously looking to the sideline, getting a
yeah,
play or whatever, but I guess that's me trying to put a positive spin on it. At least it wasn't a bad snap again. I don't think
right.
we saw any this game, actually, did we?
I
But
don't
still,
think
yeah,
so, but that's like
it's frustrating.
every week. It's something. And
Yeah.
then the other thing is just Jalen sometimes needs to just get rid of that ball.
Mm-hmm.
He just holding it a little too long at times. But hey, the positive thing, he didn't have any picks,
Mm-hmm.
no bad throws. He was very consistent, and he seemed to have a little, he really was better with his decision making for the most part. After the couple of big sacks in the first quarter, he
Yeah.
really kind of let the game come to him. It wasn't too fast for him out there, and he just took advantage of what was out there. Really didn't force anything, and
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty productive. Where they only had two or three incompletions the whole game. So
Yeah. Like you said, and we mentioned, there's a couple of bad sacks he took in the first quarter, just holding on the ball way too long. He's just, baby steps. We didn't make any bad throws into,
mhm.
interception this week, or we, so let's work on, getting that ball, go through you whatever your 1, 2, 3 reads, and then tuck it and run, get whatever positive yards you can, or get outside the tackle box and throw it away. Because what we don't want
If
to
you want
see
to
is
run
him.
Jalen,
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to run Jalen, we're not mad at you. I mean, we know that's what your specialty is. I mean, that's what you're best at. We don't expect you
Hmm.
to be a pocket passer. So if it's time to go, Jet, because we know how good you are when you're in that open field.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't want to see you get that kind of Brody Kroll injury where he was just running to the sideline and tore your
Exactly.
ACL out for the year. So
Yeah.
if it's not there, either take off or just throw it away. It's fine.
Exactly.
We'll
It's,
take that
it's
all day.
exactly.
Staying in the Magnolia State, going up north a little bit, the other big SEC tilt and of the week, LSU falls in Oxford to Ole Miss. What a game!
Man, that was
Just a back and forth shootout. Ole Miss jumped up early, big hit on the quarterback. Um, we're going to what 21-7 early and 28 this now 21-7, and LSU digs back, gets
Yeah.
close before halftime, takes the lead in the second half. Teams trade blows. LSU goes up 9 with under 10 minutes to go. Ole Miss comes
They get,
down.
yeah. That point, I thought it was kind of over, honestly, when they got up
Mm-hmm.
9.
Yeah, it
Well,
seemed like
it's
LSU
been
had taken
fun.
control of the game, but
Yeah,
the Ole Miss defense held. They got down. Jackson Dart with a touchdown run. They held again,
that's
got the ball
true.
back,
Yeah,
scored another minute, and then held on for dear life as LSU drove right back down the field.
yeah,
Had a shot to win it. The
and
ball
got
went through the receiver's hands.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, Over 1,300 yards combined total offense. Uh,
craziness.
what's it? 65 first downs between the teams.
Yeah, just
Um,
ridiculous.
I believe it's the highest scoring game in the series history. Um, Good win. Shout out Mal. She was partying. She
Heck
talked
yeah,
about it on her show this week on the Stare Down.
right.
Um,
Yeah, no, a
Good win
big
for Ole
win for
Miss. Good
that.
bounce back win for Ole Miss.
Yeah, and a big win for Lane Kiffin. It's a big
Hmm.
thing. You can't ever beat a ranked team there, so that was big for him.
Well, and you kind of called it too when you mentioned last week how he seems to have that kind of blockage against Saban, but he can turn it on, and that's exactly what they did. He called a great game, and
It,
the offense found its mark, and that's huge, huge for Ole Miss to not fall to 0-2 in SEC play too. Um,
exactly. Even though they've lost to us, I mean, they're still
mhm.
somewhat in the mix still for the West there. So
Yeah.
he's got that opportunity. They're a little harder with the one loss already, but yeah, kept alive there, and more importantly, the outside of state, that's their biggest rivals. So
Hmm.
I mean, knock them off in that fashion. Um, can't ask for more than that. I mean, but the takeaway from that game, I mean, if you look at just the whole entire season, LSU has a lot of questions on that defensive side of the ball. I mean, we saw
Hmm.
them against Florida State. Even last week we had talked about it. Arkansas
Hmm.
put up a plethora of yards and points, and then this past weekend didn't look good offensively at all. So I mean, it's some issues with that LSU defense.
Yeah, for sure. They have some things. That secondary, usually a
Mm,
strength for the Tigers. That's you can throw it on them. If you can figure out how to limit Harold Perkins from getting to your quarterback, you can do some
yeah,
damage.
sure.
I mean, like we said, it was 1,300 combined yards. Ole Miss had over 700 themselves. So that's rough. You don't want to see that if you're an LSU fan. A program that's really
Anytime you
built on their
score
defense.
49, and anytime you score 49 and your
Hmm.
quarterback goes for 400 plus yards, you think, oh yeah, easy win.
Yeah. Um, and also, Ole Miss fans got their first real Pete Golding experience there. Your team scores 55 points and you're still worried about losing it. And
Exactly.
I felt bad for him. I had, flashbacks myself when they took the lead under a minute to go. And then next thing you know, LSU is like on the 20.
Yeah,
You're just
exactly.
like, oh man,
Some
come on.
some penalties to help them get up the field, and I was like, oh, seen
Hmm.
this. Seen this show before.
Exactly. But yeah, Jackson Dart finished just outstanding game by him, man. 26-39, 389, four touchdowns, no picks. Ran for 50 and another touchdown. Quinshawn Judkins, buck 77 on the ground, averaged over five a carry. Ulysses Bentley came in there, nine rushes for 90 yards himself. They're just doing whatever they wanted on that
Yeah,
LSU defense. And, that's not saying the LSU off. Like we said, both offenses balled out. Jaden Daniels himself, over 400 yards, four touchdowns. They had, and he added 99 yards on the ground himself in the
yeah.
touchdown. They had a 100-yard
Crazy.
rusher. They had
I
their
was.
two guys had, Thomas and Neighbors had over 100 yards receiving.
Yeah. I mean, they put up points as they wanted to. I was just shocked when it came down to that. When it came down to that 4th and 5, when they're up two. and they decided to punt the ball. I was like, what? You have more faith in the defense than Jaden Daniels right now? Like, that
Yeah.
was a
Hmm.
strange. Only up
Strange.
two. You haven't stopped the nosebleed the whole second half or the whole game.
And
Like,
did
what?
and did they go to Thomas or Neighbors on that final drive? I don't think that wasn't who the very last pass was to, was it?
Yeah, I don't think it was. No.
It was questionable. Yeah.
Weird stuff at the end there
Yeah. Weird
for
game
sure.
again. Congrats, Ole Miss. That they bounce right back up in the rankings in the SEC race.
For
Elsewhere, big ranked matchups. Oregon State beat Utah, so knocked them from the ranks in the unbeaten.
hmm
Big again, another. Speaking of bounce back wins, good bounce back for them after losing to Wazoo.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I said it last week. Utah desperately needs Cam Rising to
Man,
come back, and they
offense
need him.
not good.
Yeah, because the quarterback play is just not there. That offense is bad right now,
Horrible.
and you need it going into that the meat of that Pac-12 schedule.
This Pac-12 schedule. I mean, this year. I mean, as we said, man, they're loaded. I mean,
Hmm.
everybody's throwing up points. Uh, just
Yeah.
the quarterback play, and when you're playing, you're gonna see Washington, USC, Oregon. I mean, you know that they're gonna average. They're gonna
Hmm.
throw 30, 40 on you, and if you then right now Utah can't match that. And no matter how good that defense is, I mean, they can only be out there so long with that type of talent.
Hmm. And they get a bye week this week, and then they get Cal at home. So you hope
Be okay.
those two games, maybe 2 more weeks or whatever, of Cam Rising getting rested before he comes back, because then it gets rough at the end of this month. They go at USC, and then Oregon comes to town. So
Yeah,
it's
what you
on
want.
at the end of this month, and we talked
Yeah,
about their kind of brutal end of their schedule. But elsewhere, we also had Notre Dame go into Durham and escape with a late win of their own after the heartbreak for them against Ohio State. Um, it's just a
kind of did
tough,
the exact.
gritty win, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of did the exact opposite of a week ago. I mean, it
Yeah.
looked like Duke had him on the ropes there. I mean, yeah, Sam Hartman was a gamer on that 4th and 16. Just took off, made sure he
Oh.
got the down, and
Hmm.
man,
Put his
that was
shoulder
just
down, gets it. Yeah, that's why they got him out of the transfer portal.
exactly. That
Uh.
was a heck of a game. I was glad to hear the Duke quarterback, his ankle injury wasn't as bad as what it originally looked like, because
Hmm.
that looked really bad. Because I mean,
Yeah.
he's a heck of a quarterback.
Yeah, Riley Leonard, nasty, player rolled up on his ankle, and it looked, if you watch the replay, it could have been one of those really devastating injuries, but it does not appear to be so. Big for them, and they should hold their heads high. I know Mike Elko, their coach, talked afterwards. They don't do moral victories, and that's the right attitude to have. But it's Duke football, so they don't even play close a lot. So
I mean, that's
yeah,
I mean what they
tough.
did. I mean, pretty impressive. I mean, they had Notre Dame on the ropes.
Hmm.
Probably should have won that game, but I mean,
Hmm.
that's the difference. But like you said, Sam Hartman was definitely the difference maker on that last drive there. I mean, previous seasons, Duke wins that game honestly because they don't have the quarterback to finish the game like that.
Hmm. Absolutely. Let's see. Elsewhere, other ranked matchups. Texas handled Kansas in Austin. Just just getting ready for this weekend, Red River Shootout. We'll talk about. I think that was it for ranked matchups. Other notable games. Georgia struggled with Auburn.
Man,
Which kind of knew going in Jordan Hare rivalry game. That Auburn voodoo.
never know what that is.
Uh huh.
You just never know.
Tigers jumped up 10-0 quickly to Georgia tied it and kind of slowly took the lead. Then got a late touchdown and held on. The
It was
slow starts
Brock Bowers.
continue for the Bulldogs. It's gonna you gotta feel like it's gonna come back to bite them in the ass sooner than later.
So at some
Um,
point, at
mhm.
that slow start, South Carolina slow start. Of course, Auburn slow start. And if Auburn has any type of quarterback, they win that game. But their quarterback is so bad.
their passing game is almost non-existent this year. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Paul
Thorne is terrible.
Thorne, 10 and 19, 82 yards and a pick. He had more rushing yards. He had 92 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
And then, Ashford, he comes in and he got same thing. He can run the ball, but he doesn't give you anything in the passing game.
Nothing
Um,
at all.
and Brock
You're not.
Bowers continues to be just a beast. You
Why?
know,
That's the thing with Georgia. Why do they not use him in the first half at all? It's like,
yeah,
oh, Brock Bowers. Oh yeah, second half, let's do it. I'm like,
yeah.
you
You
got
forget. Oh, right,
probably
we got a tight end that can go for 8 catches for $150. You're like, oh yeah, this guy's pretty good. Maybe we should use him.
it's like,
Um,
yeah, I don't know, but yeah, you would think that eventually it's going to catch up to him there, but at the same time, you look at the schedule and you think maybe not, just because of
oh
what
yeah.
comes to the playoff. You can't get down this year.
Yeah, we talked about that in our previews. Georgia's schedule allows them to kind of either work on it all year or it's going to be a smoke show, and then they get to the playoff and they play another elite team and they're going to get housed, or it's going to jump on them.
Right. It's starting to look like almost like that Florida State team in 2014,
Yeah.
first year of the playoffs. So
Hmm.
they kept having these weird games, but they kept winning because their ACC schedule was bad. And then they played that Oregon team, and Oregon just housed them.
Hmm. Yeah. Elsewhere, the not a ranked matchup, but should be, and now they are. Kentucky just ran over, around, and through Florida. Ray Davis,
85.
280. Ooh.
I
Um,
mean, that is crazy.
yeah.
And and that was coming in. That was a defensive, but starting to get some respect, and
Hmm.
they played pretty well for most of the season. And man, I wouldn't. I mean, thought Kentucky was going to win the game just because Kentucky has, has a good thing going on.
Hmm.
But man, that just the way that they ran it down the Gators' throat. Oh, wow.
Yeah, just did whatever they pushed them around. They did whatever they wanted to. And
Wasn't
I said it last
expect.
week. They should have been ranked, and now they are.
Oh, they are.
They should be ranked higher.
Yeah, because I mean, that is crazy. 280 in an SEC game.
And just getting clipped. He carried 26 times, but still, like he
Yeah.
was just getting big chunks of yards every time he ran the ball. I don't know if you need the SEC Network show. Was it SEC in 60 or whatever? They show you highlights of every SEC game of the week in 60 minutes. So you just see that. Well, I watched some of that this weekend and saw that
Is it the
Kentucky
Ray Day?
Florida one, and that's all it was. It was just Ray Davis, Ray Davis, Ray Davis, Ray Davis, Ray Davis.
Yeah.
Um,
It's crazy.
so yeah. And then let's see other games we're talking about. Probably USC Colorado. USC jumped up big. They were up like
Oh,
34-14 at half. It looked like they were running away. They got up 48-21 over Colorado, and then the Buffs stormed back and had a shot at the end to tie it. Good heart shown by the Buffs. But that's kind of what we expected. Both of these are great offenses. Colorado's defense is a problem. Their offensive line is a problem. It was a problem in the first half before they got going. And USC's defense continues to be pretty garbage.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
you have to, yeah, like that defense. At this point, they're saying, "Oh, the defense gets better," but at some point, that defense is just what that defense is. Like
mhm.
they've shown times that's just who they are. And when you play Washington, you play Oregon. I mean, that's not gonna like the
Mm-mm.
people that can match you with the points equally, because we know both of them have just as good of offenses. Like
Yeah.
that's not going to work out for USC. Eventually, that defense is going to cost them something.
Yeah, I just don't see how. And I don't, even if they win the national title this year, I don't see how you invite Alex Grinch back. You got to be like,
No.
all right, man, look, it's been real, but
Yeah,
uh,
that's
you,
a
you're struggling. Like, you're our problem
right.
here.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if they take them to the Big Ten with them. But yeah,
No, yeah, you can't do that. But yeah, you mentioned Oregon. They handled business against Stanford. A little slow start of their own, actually, but they turned it on. Washington struggled in Tucson. They kind of actually built the lead, and Arizona chipped in. But Tucson's one of those places, and they handled their business. And Michael Penix still threw for like 360.
Yeah, 360. Only had like 5 incompletions.
Yeah,
He's just ridiculous. And then
ridiculous.
that's both Oregon, Washington, both off this week to play next week. So man,
Woo, yeah. Let's see. Also, Michigan handled Nebraska. The Penn State continues to look sneaky. Again, slow start. They were tied at halftime with Northwestern, and then just turned it on the second half.
Yeah.
Got me a nice little cover. Let's see. Oklahoma handled business. We're about to talk about them in a second. Tennessee handled South Carolina. They ran the ball. Speaking of teams running the ball,
Yeah.
Missouri pulled away late from Vandy. We'll talk about them in a second too. Sneaky, good teams. And so I mentioned it. Let's look next week's schedule, man. Headlined by the Red River Shootout.
Man, that's okay.
And it is the shootout. We here at Taking on Sports are adamant about that.
Yeah.
Man, this looks like the best one in well over a decade, right, man?
Oh yeah. And it has. I mean, both teams coming undefeated.
For the first
we know
time since what, like 03, 09,
yeah,
something like that.
it's been a while. Definitely been a while since it's meant this much. And then it's one of those games where, Texas coming in with all the hype, and OU's just quietly's just plugging along, putting up points, beating folks pretty handily. It's like almost like the media is like taking the frustration out on their last year's season because they're not getting any love anywhere.
Mm-mm.
So,
And Dylan Gabriel is just playing. He's balling this year, man.
yes.
Through 5 games, it's 1,500 yards, 15 touches, only 2 picks, man.
Having a heck of a year. Yeah, but they've just been quietly playing football, Norman, and not getting much love anywhere. It's
Yeah, they
just
won what,
kind
like
of weird.
50-20 over Iowa State, man. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not easy to do.
All right.
But yeah, you figure. So Texas is 6.5 point favorite right now, and I think Texas will win that game. But it would not shock me at all if the Sooners win it.
No, not at all.
With how well they're playing, but it's sure to be a fun one, man. That's going to be that usual noon or 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff at the Cotton Bowl in the middle of the state fair, and it should be one of those classic ones where they just trade blows back and forth.
Yeah, you expect like a whoever has the ball last type of game, I'd say. But
yeah, over under is 60 on that one, and man, I'm telling you, woo, I'd be hammering that over.
Heck.
That's kind of low to me.
Yeah, 60 just like what?
That's inviting you right there, yeah. Let's see, other ranked matchups this week. Another big one, Kentucky. We mentioned them. They break into the rankings finally. They visit Athens.
Yeah.
They're probably outmanned. Georgia's a 14.5 point favorite, but we talked about if the Dogs get off to another slow start, Kentucky can get like a 2-score lead with Ray Davis. If they can lean on them and run that ball, it's hard to lean on Georgia.
Yeah.
But Kentucky plays that style where they could just hold that, make it ugly, make it a rock fight, and that's going to be interesting to watch. That's a 6 p.m. game.
Who knows? Yeah, that'll be fun to watch. I mean, I guess Kentucky kind of the only thing with that game is they kind of what they're good at is what Georgia's good at stopping. That's running. So I mean, they're gonna have to force some turnovers, something to get some energy, and then they can do what they do. But yeah, just running to Georgia doesn't usually work for anybody.
No, yeah,
So,
like you said, they're going to need maybe big special teams, big defensive play, maybe a score, and unless they're holding something back in the passing game, because Georgia's going to be able to be like, all right, we're going to stack it with our really big, beefy, athletic guys, and you can go ahead and try to run.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that'll be a fun one to watch. Staying in the SEC, we mentioned Mizzou 5-0. They host LSU. That's a big, that's a pivotal game right now.
That's a huge game for, especially for Mizzou. I mean, the fact, coming into the season, if you had told me that in that matchup the 5-0 Tiger team would be the one in Columbia,
Mm-hmm.
wow.
It
I mean,
looked you
considering the
funny.
Reds came into the season kind of that super hot seat, and then he really has responded well, man. Since that K State, uh, since they pulled that, they've been on a and the way LSU's defense is coming to that game, man, Mizzou might put up numbers.
They completely
Luther
Brady Cook, man. He's slinging it. The junior there out of St. Louis, man. He is having a year so far.
and
Um,
the wide
1,400
receiver,
yards, 11 touchdowns, no picks.
yeah. So
Um, he's throwing the ball at nearly 75% completion percentage. And like you said, LSU, that pass defense has been suspect. Uh, that's an 11 o'clock game. That's an early start. That's another. It's gonna be a lot of interesting games to watch this weekend, and a lot of ones early
yeah,
too. That early window is gonna be fun. Um,
yeah. You would think Luther Burden should have a big day against that LSU secondary. I
hmm
mean, he's a talented guy. I mean, and
and
it's amazing. He up at Mizzou. I mean, he's just that. I mean, I know he's from East St. Louis, so I mean, somewhat in the he's from the state there, but man, he's a
mhm,
talented guy. Maybe arguably, everybody says Neighbors is the best, but man, he's definitely up there as one of the best receivers in the SEC, if not
mhm.
the country.
I mean, his
So
stats are right there. They're actually a little bit
yeah,
better. He's got
yeah,
3 more receptions, 20 more yards, the same amount of touchdowns as neighbors.
yeah.
So that'll be
That
a good
should,
one to
should be.
watch.
Yeah,
When you hope, if you're Jaden Daniels or an LSU fan, you're just like, man, defense, help me out, man. Because
right.
he's
It
like,
was
I'm
something.
I'm doing it. I'm trying to do everything, and
I mean, he's had outside of that second half of that, of the Florida State game. I mean, he's his stats have been on a different level.
mhm.
And honestly, there's no reason they should have lost last week. I mean,
No,
that offense did more than enough.
no, and Missouri's defense has been solid this year. They're allowing under 100 yards on the ground a game. In fact, under 75. Like, so they can
That'll be
buckle down and it'd be fun. Yeah, that's the one keep your eye on while you're watching the Red River.
yeah.
While you're watching what else did I say was earlier? Just keep your eye on that one. Another early game. This week's team that should be ranked, the Terps. We talked about them in our Big Ten preview.
Yeah.
They've handled their business. They figured out their slow start problem. They go into Columbus. They're 20-point underdogs. And Ohio State certainly is a more talented team and should win. They've had a bye week to prepare for it, but don't sleep on Mike Loxley's guys there.
Not at all. I mean, I mean, of course, they're the favorite at home, the Buckeyes, but that seems like a mighty big line because there's
Yeah.
nothing that says Ohio State is that. I mean, they're good, but nothing that says, man, we haven't seen them really roll anybody. So it's like that 20-point line is more just because it's the name than what they've
Mhm.
actually accomplished this year.
Yeah, I think that's based more on, like, okay, well, these are a bunch of 5 stars going against a team that, probably doesn't have one or maybe just one at the most.
Right.
But Terps, they've, was it a couple years ago? Last year, they can take Ohio State to the brink.
They did. They took both them and Michigan deep.
Yeah. Um, Loxley's just looking for that big win there at
Yeah.
Maryland. That kind
And
of
if he
one he
could,
can put his signature on.
yeah, if he could get that one in Columbus,
Ooh,
man,
huge,
that would be.
huge. Yeah. Um, if there is a problem there, I mean, they haven't been terrible, Maryland's defense, but that would be it. But Talia Tungavailoa, he's having a great year himself.
I think
Um,
he's last year set the Maryland passing record. I mean, not that that's probably a lot, but I think he's over
mhm,
9K for his career now. There, it's
yeah.
crazy.
Let's see. Elsewhere, another ranked matchup. Notre Dame travels to Louisville for, speaking of surprise 5-0 teams, the Cardinal.
Yeah,
Um,
Cardinal.
Cardinals, yeah, they. they're doing it. This is another one, kind of like the Duke game. Notre Dame has more talent. They should be able to win this road game. Louisville won't make it easy for them. That's a tough place to play traditionally for people.
Because,
It's a 6:30 game, so a little bit night that Louisville crowd can get a little rowdy, but they need to definitely play a hell of a lot better than they did last week against NC State. That was a sloppy, ugly game.
yeah,
Granted, it was in
they I
Raleigh and that happens, but
yeah, yeah, because they they got out to a slow start. Can't do that
mhm,
against Notre Dame for sure. But that's two sneaky games in a row for Notre Dame to go into
mhm,
Durham and then next week go into Louisville. I mean, that's tough scenarios just because just
yeah,
that road atmosphere and that Louisville crowd. When Louisville football is good, I mean they come out and they're loud. I
mhm,
mean we've seen it at times, but yeah, they're definitely the state of Kentucky. Both teams 10-0, on the season there. So
yeah,
not
right,
basketball season quite in the state.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The great football season for the Bluegrass State. Other matchups to watch: Washington State visits UCLA. Again,
That's
that's
an
one UCLA is actually favored in that one, but Cam
interesting.
Ward might have something to say about that.
Yeah, I, I didn't like. I was kind of shocked that they're the favorite. Like
Hmm.
I haven't seen anything that would say other than, and it's you can't really even give them the home field advantage points because
No,
we've
yeah,
seen how bad Rose Bowl is at times. Like there's nothing intimidating about going into playing the Bruins at all. Like
yeah, it's not a beautiful stadium, college cathedral, but UCLA doesn't really enjoy much of a home field advantage there. Um, Arkansas visits Ole Miss. Arkansas on a 3-game slide. This is kind of a trap game for Ole Miss, even though it's at home. Off
yeah,
that big emotional win and Arkansas slide, and they better make sure they keep
they,
their composure. Um,
yeah,
let's see. Georgia Tech visits Miami. It should be Miami
easy money.
should do work there, but they've lost to Georgia Tech in the past. Sneaky good one there. I was looking forward to on schedule. Number 24, Fresno visits Wyoming. Fresno's unbeaten. Wyoming's only loss is that Texas game. And this one's in Laramie. Uh,
Yeah,
that could be a sneak. That's a night game on Fox. I think that's Fox's big prime time. Um,
that's an interesting one for sure.
yeah, that's one to keep your eyes on. Oh, well, shit, we blew right past Alabama visits the Aggies this weekend. Um,
Man, that
yeah, they have speaking, Ania Smith. Speaking of just speedsters,
oh,
scary.
and he's talking.
Right now, you
He
can
was,
limit his touches, and he doesn't hurt you in the special teams.
he was
Um,
talking trash because of that. His brother, was at Alabama and
well,
to transfer to Georgia there, and he said this is personal. So,
yeah, the Aggies' run defense has been solid this year, so you hope that Alabama can do what they do. They can find a way to get through that, or they hope that Jalen can have his best passing game of the year.
right
Um,
back would be
A&M, of course, without Connor Wegman, Max Johnson is their guy now at quarterback. Solid game against Arkansas.
yeah. And
Um,
he's been in the SEC seemingly forever
yeah,
between LSU and him. Seems like he's going on like 10 years. But I mean, the A&M, I mean, perfect. I mean, great overall situation. I mean, Connor Wegman gets hurt, and then you have Max Johnson just ready to go. I mean, experienced guy. He's not going to lose you games. He's if anything, maybe the offense looks a little better with him under center at times. He has a lot of SEC experience. But since that Miami game, that defense has looked nasty. That they
hmm,
almost look wrecking their old wrecking crew defense. I mean, last two games against Auburn and Arkansas, 14 sacks.
yeah. Worrisome
Yeah,
if you're a Bama fan. Um,
because I mean, the Jalen can't hold the ball very long because they're coming.
yeah,
They're
if
going to be coming.
this is one where you want, all right, Tommy Reese, let's see what you got. You better have the right
Yeah,
game plan. You better dial up the right um,
right
looks
people
and
and
yeah.
get extra help.
Yeah, get Jalen
Extra.
help, get the ball out, see if that run game can ease the pressure in the passing game.
Yeah,
And if you're the Bama defense, just step up and make some plays for your offense. Get some turnovers. Don't give up a big play in special teams, like we mentioned. This might be a
yep.
slugfest here,
Yeah,
and
it's gonna be a very good game, I think.
yeah, and eliminate the dumb mistakes. That's what Kyle Field's going to be rocking. We know how much Jimbo and A&M love this game. They want to win it desperately. You can't have the penalties. You can't kill yourself.
No,
Um,
yeah, because this. I mean, we won at Starkville, but we know College Station is a whole different level. And
yeah.
some of those first quarter mistakes that we had this past weekend can't happen in College Station at all.
Mm-mm.
Because if they get hot early and the crowd gets going and they're building that, you know, feeling good. Yeah, we can't have that. We need to shut down that crowd early. Yeah, force some quick three and outs, get some going ourselves offensively, and no turnovers.
Mm-hmm. And then SEC wise, just to let's see, we got anything good? Not really. Vandy, Florida. Yeah, nothing. A lot of bye weeks this week.
Yeah,
All right, so real quick before we move on to the NFL, so we've seen we're through September, seen 5 weeks, 6 if you
yeah.
count week 0. Give me your four. I don't want to say playoff teams, but maybe your four playoff teams or your four best teams right now. Who are
Or
your
best in the NFL,
in the in NCAA right
in
now?
the in the in NCAA. Are we
Mm-hmm, yeah.
talking? Your four best teams. Just how they're playing. I mean, right now, just based on play alone,
Mm-hmm,
I mean, I would have to have Michigan up there, and they haven't played anybody, but they've handled business and blown folks out. You know, even though they had a slow start last week, well, was not a slow start, but kind of coasted. I have Washington up there for sure.
mm-hmm,
Um, and I would probably, I'm gonna say Texas for sure,
mm-hmm.
and then that last is kind of up in the air. Right now I'm gonna say Oregon.
Mm.
I mean, they putting up points, and the defense is nasty.
Yeah, definitely a tougher team. I can't argue with those four teams. I would say myself, Texas. I agree, Texas and Washington. Um, they're just playing the best looking football right now. Um, I'd throw in Florida State in there because they got the 2 wins, LSU and Clemson. Now, granted, those teams haven't held on to be great, but still, those are two important wins for them. And then
Exactly.
I throw Penn State in there as my fourth team. They haven't really played anybody yet, but they're handling their business and they look great. There's no
Right.
stumbles. They don't have slow starts really. Um, or if they do, they like the Northwestern game this past week, and they like all right, they went in, they made their adjustments, and they came out and like all right, we're gonna
Yeah.
blow you out. Talent wise, again we expect Georgia to be there, but they're just slow starts. You're worried about that offense against a better team.
Yeah.
Michigan's playing great, but
Exactly.
they've played such a weak schedule. Um,
Right.
Ohio State, the big win against Notre Dame's there, but again, you mentioned it like you haven't really seen it yet from them. Um,
Right.
and then I agree though with Oregon, that defense is great. There's a new tough attitude there. Offense is playing off the chart as they can, and we know USC's offense is great, but again, their defense is just such a liability. Um, but yeah, moving on to the NFL real quick. Not a crazy week like last week. No 70-point outburst. No really huge upsets we can think of. This is kind of a week where the best teams kind of again were like, okay, let's. Your Cowboys righted the ship, blew out New England.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our boy Mac Jones just did not have a great day. Got pulled, in
At all.
fact. No.
Yeah.
You looked the Bills and Dolphins was kind of the premier matchup, and the Bills handled them.
They have,
They put pressure on Tua, and they really kind of shut down that um, Dolphins offense.
yeah,
One
did a
thing you
heck
can't
of a,
say silver lining for Dolphins that Achane, that's a star. They
he is a heck of a
absolutely,
player.
yeah, absolutely drafted right with that guy. His
Yeah,
speed just really fits in with that
right. And we saw it
team.
today,
Hmm.
but you never know how it's going to translate to the pros. But he
Hmm.
definitely translated well.
Yeah, we mentioned it. Like I said, this was a kind of a week for the big teams to kind of strut their stuff. Ravens took
Right.
advantage of the Browns not having Deshaun Watson. Their offense looked pretty bad. Lamar Jackson had a great game. Um, we mentioned the big Bills win. The Bengals continue to look just bad.
Terrible.
Um,
Yeah, they might as well just sit Joe now. If that
yeah,
leg injury's hurt,
and
it's
they
more
say they're
hurting.
not going to. Um,
I don't know.
but yeah,
So,
that's worrisome. The Eagles, a tough one against Washington, but they always seem Washington always plays Philly tough.
yeah, they do.
And
It doesn't matter.
the Eagles took care of it.
Washington,
Hmm.
you know, Washington is really looking somewhat. I mean, they got blown out against Buffalo, but
Hmm.
other than that, they're looking like a tough team.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I can't. I'm running blank on the offensive coordinator's name now from Kansas City, but
Be
if
enemy.
he keeps watching, yeah, Eric Bieniemy, yeah, if he continues to have Washington with not the best quarterback situation, maybe not the most talented offensive
Hmm.
unit out there. But if they keep on putting up points and looking good, I mean, I think he's gonna. People are gonna finally give him the respect that maybe he didn't get in Kansas City because it's looking good so far.
Hmm. You mentioned your Cowboys, big win, good bounce back win for them after the
Yeah,
dumb loss to Arizona. Speaking of
yeah, of
Arizona, they returned to form against 49ers. Christian McCaffrey just went absolutely nuts on
course.
them.
Yeah.
The Chiefs escaped, built a big
Man,
lead, and then the Jets kind of, what do you know? Zach Wilson played himself a decent game.
they
Um,
did.
and But the Chiefs hold on. They win late. So it kind of just, teams. Like I said, the big teams doing what we do. We're through a quarter ish of the season now, 4 games. The Niners, the Eagles, the Cowboys are the class of the NFC.
Yeah,
The Chiefs and Bills appear to be your class, and the Dolphins are right there too. Just maybe the Bills
all
have their
right.
number. Um, the Ravens, they bounced back themselves after the dumb loss to Indy last week, and if they can just
Mm-hmm.
continue to get healthy,
Yeah.
because that division's just looking not as tough as they thought it would be. They now have
No.
a game up on the Browns with the tiebreaker now. 2 games up on the Bengals with the tiebreaker. They
And the
play
Steelers are
Pittsburgh
horrible.
this week. The Steelers, yeah, their offense looks pathetic. They lost to the Texans.
You got
CJ
house
Stroud
fight,
looking like rookie of the year by far.
and
Um,
that's big. I mean, because nobody, especially that whole thing with the Ohio State quarterbacks,
hmm
not NFL material, and man, yeah, he's running. So far, he's running away with Rookie of the Year. If you know, he's just putting up numbers. Um, and second week in a row where not only did they win, but they housed the team. I mean, they
hmm
went into Duval, housed the Jags. I mean, Pittsburgh's not good, but I mean, no one. I didn't expect them to just completely dominate the game. I mean,
No, but
the
people thought they
Texans are
were,
well ahead
Kenny
of the.
Pickett got some love that they finished last year hot. There were a lot of people talking about that. Okay, they're a playoff team again.
Exactly.
Um, but we'll see if he plays. He went off the injury. Um, we'll see if he plays this week. Like I said, the Ravens Steelers. It's time for that again. It's in Pittsburgh. Um, but if that offense continues to play that bad, then Mike Tomlin might have his first losing season finally.
Yeah,
Because
that's
they're too,
look.
they got dominated by the 49ers. So the one, really good team they played, we know. beat the Browns,
Hmm.
beat the Raiders. Not impressive in either one, and they got blown out by the Texans.
Yeah.
And then it's worrisome if you're a Steelers fan right now. I'm loving
So
it, and I hope that they play just as bad this week. But
yeah, but
um,
yeah, if you're
yeah,
Steelers Nation, I know that they're what is going on?
yeah, I don't even know who their backup is there. If Pickett doesn't play, almost
Oh,
like I said, almost want Pickett to play.
it's
It's Trubisky. That's it. Yeah,
Mitch, yeah, Mitch Trubisky.
yeah. But yeah, you just know. I think I heard it somewhere mentioned. I forget where I was listening, but and I probably agree. But Matt Canada, there, that might be the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL right now. Um,
Hmm.
just kind of that offense is really predictable. Um,
Well, I don't know. The Bears might be up there.
that's true. Ooh, yeah, never mind. Yeah, the Bears continue to be bad. The Bears, the good news, Bears fans, is you right now are projected to get the number 1 and number 2 pick in next year's draft due to trades. So maybe if Justin Fields isn't it, maybe Caleb Williams is your guy.
Hmm.
Or maybe you draft some
And you
stuff
could
if you
take
think,
Marvin. You
yeah,
could take Marvin Harrison right behind him.
there you go. There you go. Now you've got a team. But yeah, let's see where else. Jaguars bounce back. They beat the Falcons. Speaking of teams that, uh, just Des Bridder ain't it, I don't think, if you're
Mm,
all those weapons
I
you
don't think.
have, if you're Atlanta, but that quarterback, you really question why, if Lamar Jackson was truly on the market, Atlanta was the
Why
spot for him.
you at least?
Hmm.
Why didn't you at least try or see
Hmm.
what it would cost you?
Hmm. Um,
And the main thing with the Falcons is why don't they use Kyle Pitts at all? I don't understand that.
I
It,
don't
he's
understand
just
it. Yeah.
wasting his time. I mean, we he had a heck of a rookie year, and we know
Hmm.
how good he was at Florida, and he gets like 3 targets a game, and it's like, where's Kyle Pitts? I mean,
Yeah,
he
and
didn't lose
it's
his talent. Like
yeah, and Arthur
what?
Smith's a good offensive mind. Uh,
It's like, dude, like
it's
I
weird.
don't understand. Oh,
In that NFC South now, the Bucks are looking like the class of the division now. Baker's
yeah.
doing um, good enough. He's doing what he needs to do there, and the Bucks are 3-1. And the rest of that division, the Panthers are 0-4. The
Also,
Falcons and Saints are both 2-2 now. Um,
yeah. And the Bucks already have the tiebreaker right now over the Saints, and then
mhm.
the Bucks have the Saints now. Like,
Yeah, that's one of those weird numbers. Just got their numbers. It's weird. So, like I said, this is through the quarterish mark. We kind of knew what we expected. The Lions are actually as good as maybe they
yeah,
everyone said they would. David Montgomery, just Jesus, um, running all over the Packers on Thursday night. They lead that division because the Packers aren't there yet with Jordan Love, and then the Vikings just for whatever reason that offense isn't doing what that offense should do.
no,
Um,
at all.
mm-mm.
And if they had been the Panthers this past weekend, they're probably 0-4 as well.
Yeah. Um, and you look at challengers like, the Chargers and the AFC aren't as good as maybe they should be. They beat the Raiders, but again, it wasn't exactly
Yeah,
impressive.
wasn't it? I mean, the Raiders were down at the 1 yard line and threw a terrible pick. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
And
Santa Simon Jr. with the pick at the end, and I mean they're right there. Honestly, what's his name is not a good coach. I don't.
oh, no, no,
Brandon
Brandon
Staley.
Staley, not at all.
Yeah, he like thinks he's so smart, and at the end of the day, a lot of what he does, but he costs the Chargers dearly.
Yeah, his in-game decisions are very questionable, and he was supposed to be a defensive guy, and that defense just does lets him down continually. And now you got
Yeah,
Justin Herbert, with an injury to his non-throwing hand. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I thought he should have been gone after blowing that game against Jacksonville in the playoffs last year, but I'm not the boss there. So, yeah, that's a NFL kind of report through the first quarter of the season. Kind of expected, kind of what was going on. A couple of surprises, but things are around and teams around and in the shape.
yeah,
Like I said, your
yeah.
offensive rookie of the
And
year in AFC is CJ Stroud. It's the receivers Nakua. in the NFC, the Rams guy. He's just still going off.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, moving on quickly before we go, it's MLB playoff time. Actually, starting today.
Yeah.
The Rangers beat the Rays in Game 1 of the Wild Card Series. The Twins won Game 1 over the Blue Jays. Right
First
now, the
four. And
Diamondbacks in Milwaukee are playing. Arizona's got a 4-3 lead, and right now Philly's up 1-0 to Miami. Of course, these are all the best 2 of 3 series. We know Braves Dodgers have the bye, and he's out, gunned him down. Miami making a play at the plate.
man,
In
nice.
Milwaukee, base hit the center. Another play at the plate right here. Nope, cut it. Oh no, he held him at third.
Third.
The Braves and Dodgers with the buys in the NL, the O's and Astros with the buys in the
Yeah.
AL.
Yeah.
So we why not? We could do it and curse some team's fan base, but maybe not straight predictions. But give me your. Uh, I guess we kind of know the favorites already, so sure. Give me your World Series prediction. Why not?
World Series prediction. I must say Rangers, Braves. How about you?
I like it. I very much kind of hate to curse my Braves here, but confident with that lineup. Maybe the best lineup in the history of the game. Pitching's been worrisome September for sure. Starters are shaky. That bullpen's really shaky. You can hope Max Fried comes back from his little blister problem fine, and we know Charlie Morton's not going to be there for their division series. So you hope when the other guy steps up, or you just hope the lineup scores 10 a game, and it doesn't matter what your pitching does.
Right. Doesn't matter.
But so I
Right.
still think I'm confident they can come out. It'll be a tough road. They get the winner of this Philly Miami series, and Philly beat them last year, so that'll be a tough one.
But I mean,
Philly's lineup is almost as good as them
yeah.
or the Dodgers.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, that's the tough thing about when you play your divisional opponents. I mean, you know, I mean, the Marlins or the
Mm-hmm.
Phillies. I mean, everybody knows everybody and what everything that they do. So there's no mystery at all. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah,
so it's
as we
tough.
speak, Philly just went up 3-0, and Milwaukee tied it. Um, but yeah, I like them, and then the AL. As great as the O story, I'm a Baltimore kid, grew up going to games at Camden Yards. It's a great story. I think losing Felix Bautista was such a bad blow for them.
Yeah,
He was such a
I think
shutdown. The
so.
back into that bullpen with the other guy was it with Noah or whatever. That 1-2 punch at the end of the game was
Hmm.
huge. I think we get a rematch of 2 years ago, the Braves and Astros.
Braves and Astros.
Yeah, I think that's what we see there. And
Nice.
so, of course, now everyone get ready for your, let's say, like Toronto, Arizona World Series or something.
Toronto. Yeah,
Yeah.
just what the MLB wants for ratings.
Yeah, exactly. You'll get your
What was it
small
last
market.
year? Philly and what was it last year? Philly and
Philly
Houston.
lost to Houston. Houston got it back, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Philly lost to Houston, but I mean, everybody, they were hoping, the Braves were gonna get there just
Hmm.
because the Braves had that national brand that's gonna get
Yeah.
some ratings there, just because
Or they
those
were
years the
looking
team.
for that,
Yeah,
or the
yeah,
Dodgers or something. They want that.
yeah. I didn't
Uh,
get that. We'll see what they get this year, but yeah, I mean, I
hmm.
think it's gonna be interesting as always. I mean, postseason baseball is top. I mean,
Yeah.
even if you don't watch a lot of the regular season, I mean, it's just something epic about the playoffs.
And I think we talked about it last year. I really love the format they switched to. If you're going to add teams, at least make the format interesting. And then, the wild card round being the best 2 or 3, and then moving the division, which is
Yeah, I
best of
like that.
5, and then going to 7 games after
Right.
that. It's really fun.
I think it's a nice format. It brings some drama, and it also makes it important to win your division there, as the Rangers found out, up
Hmm.
98% of the season just to lose on the last weekend of the season and not having to play a 3-game series.
In
So
Tampa, yeah, they took care of business today in front of a sparse crowd,
4-0.
which
I mean,
you
that's
less
one
blame
thing.
on Tampa
Tampa's not.
Bay. I don't blame that
Yeah,
so much on Tampa Bay. Is Major League Baseball didn't even announce the times of these games till 2 days ago, and then they start the playoffs in the middle of the day on a weekday.
middle of the day, a weekday. I mean, a lot of people honestly couldn't miss work. I mean, that's just the reality of the world.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not everybody can get off work at last second. You know, if they had a week or two, I'm sure more people could have figured it out. But
Hmm.
you have 2 days to figure out stuff. I mean, it's hard to get off work or figure out what you're doing with your kids or whatever or if they're going to the game. And it's, it's a yeah big things. Yeah, it's kind of weird to start your playoff in the middle of the day on a Tuesday.
Yeah, without announcing that at least a lot before time to being like, hey, this is
Exactly.
when our playoff starts.
All right. Exactly.
But yeah, Major League Baseball continues to always do the wrong thing just about. But we should give them credit. The rule
Yeah.
changes this year have made the games, a little more exciting. So,
Yeah. That it
and
has.
like you said, playoff baseball is always great. Um,
Oh yeah.
anything we missed in the world of sports you want to touch on?
I think we hit most everything. It was an entertaining news week. Um, so I guess
Um,
the other thing, just it'd be interesting to see. I mean, we knew that it was coming. I guess just it'd be interesting to see the route Michigan State takes as far as your next football coach.
yeah,
Uh,
Mel Tucker officially fired. Michigan State, not a bad job by any means. It's tough, with Michigan. It's a plus that they're getting out of the division format, but
yeah,
then, now you're
upside.
adding USC, Washington, Oregon to the conference. So,
Yeah.
but they'll spend on football. We know that. Also, sad loss. Tim Wakefield passed the
Yeah.
brain cancer. Guy that was around forever. Remember him on those early '90s Pirates teams. Um, and then of course,
And
a crucial
a
player for
headache,
those Red Sox teams.
headache in Boston with that knuckleball.
Yeah, for a Yankees fan, you hated it. For
But
anyone, you
yeah,
hated that knuckleball. But that 1-2 punch, throwing
and
Pedro, throwing the gas at you, and then the next night come out Tim Wakefield throwing
yeah,
that
I mean that was
knuckler.
nasty.
Um, got some big outs in their World Series run. Um,
I did.
so sad loss for the game of baseball.
It's,
Thoughts go out to his family and loved ones. Um, But moving on, of course, what has been done up real good for you, Greg, this week?
done up for me good. So I've a small opportunity, and it's just a build. It's about building, I guess, my uh, portfolio of writing. But I've started writing on Fansided as a paid contributor. It takes a lot to get paid. It's
Ooh,
based on your view count, of course, but hey, it's a start. Just getting the experience and building that up, and maybe turning that into something bigger down the road. But it's been fun so far. And
well, that's good. How can we
how
find
about
you? Plug it. How can the people find you?
well, if you go on the fan sided website, I write a couple articles a week for the Alabama site, Bama Hammer, and then they also have the down south SEC portion of the fan sided website. And I've wrote my first article for that uh, yesterday, so
Well, there you go. Look up
all on
Greg.
fan sided. Yes, sir. How about you?
Let's see. What has been done up real good for you? I mentioned, I was on the road last week, so being home's nice.
Yeah.
Don't foresee any more road trips. A lot of work this month, but it's all here at home. Um, oh, there we go. I've got some good news today. So we have a very old HVAC unit at our house. It's a beast. We knew that we would have to replace it at some point when we bought the house. And it's one of these beast combo air conditioning and heating units.
Yeah.
And it's given us some trouble this summer. It gave us some trouble a couple winters ago. Every time it rained, it would go out. And so, it was Birmingham winters get a little cold. And this summer, obviously, it was hot. And ACs can only do so much, but it's just gotten to the point where the some part, I think the refrigeration coil broke in it, and the repair guy
Mm.
told us like it is 3 generations old, so this part is probably not out there anymore. But thanks to some good home insurance, we filed a claim with them, and they're like, "Yeah, sure, we'll pay that." So we are getting a brand new unit soon, paid for by our insurance company. So
Oh wow, that's
yeah,
huge.
that is
Wow.
very nice. We pay
What if
we will
HVAC?
pay our very cheap deductible,
Yeah,
and comparatively to what HVAC units cost.
they're about a car payment. I mean, a
Yeah,
car.
yeah, about a car.
These
Yeah.
days, that would
So
make sense.
that's good news. And of course, it's the tail end of the heat, here in Birmingham, but it'll be nice to just peace of mind, get that taken care of, get an
Yeah,
updated unit, and hopefully not have to worry about that again for
20
as long
years.
as for a long, 10, 15
Yeah,
years, hopefully.
yeah.
So that is good. Little nerdy home ownership stuff there, but if you know, you know. But
Oh, yeah.
that should do it for us this week, folks. Um, Thank you once again for listening to Taking on Sports here on the Alabama Take Family of Net or Family Podcast. Family of Podcasts. Yeah, there you go. Do again tell your friends about us, subscribe to us, and give us good ratings on wherever you listen to us. Tell your rich friends about us. We would like to get paid to do this as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Check out everything on the Alabama Take. We mentioned Mal put out her episode earlier. The stare down this week just could not contain her excitement. A big weekend in Oxford. Go check that out. Taking it down is hitting you with, of course, all your TV needs. Alabama Slam podcast hitting you with your wrestling needs. I should have a big episode this week.
Big
Adam
pay-per-view.
Copeland, the artist known as Edge, debuting in AEW.
You-
Yeah. Of course, we are a Star Wars. They've been pumping out episodes. I think This Song Sucks put out, I think it might be their season finale. And then a new episode of Check Your Shelf just popped up too for you literary folk. So it is busy time for the Alabama Take family of podcasts. And as always, you can go on the alabamatake.com, check out our writings. Right now, of course, we have our betting column, me, Blaine, and Mallory. Checking the overall records real quick. I think Mallory was in the lead. She had a couple good weeks. I'm right there, hovering right above 500.
No.
Blaine is struggling. He'll bounce back. He's just making some odd choices this year. I'm gonna have to talk to him about that. Send him a text. Picking that. He's just picking the under in that LSU Ole Miss game. That was a questionable decision, Blaine.
Oh
Let's just say
wow.
that. Come on, man. You know better. Let's see. So let's see. Blaine, let's see. Going into last week was 5-9-1, and then he went. Let's see, one. He went 2-2. So yeah, he got the Kentucky game right. He did pick the over in Georgia Auburn, which hit. And then like I said, that under call, not so good, Blaine. And then Chiefs and Jets. You can't blame him for that one. You thought the Jets or
No.
the Chiefs would blow them out. See,
Yeah.
going into last week, so that means Blaine sits at now 7-11-1. I was 8-7 going into last week. I had Penn State; they had a late cover for me. I got Maryland; they covered
Nice.
for me. Missed on my
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas pick. I did get the Niners
Which added
pick though.
plus, you added a +6 for the
Yeah, the
for
Hogs.
the.
Yeah, I thought that maybe they would.
That usually is a tight game.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I thought. And I thought after their back-to-back losses, they would come in on fire. But A&M just played really well.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so I went 3-1. So now I sit at 11-8 on the year.
Nice.
Mal was 9-5-1 going into the week, and she, let's see, did not hit Georgia -14. Did hit Oregon -27. Memphis and Boise, I don't know. Was that a push? Memphis -3.
They won.
I know Memphis
They covered.
won, but I don't
I'm
know.
pretty sure they covered the 3. I
Let's
think
go
they won
check
by
that.
like. I know it came down to the onside kick at the end, but I can't think of quite the score.
Yeah, it was a tight game.
Because they were down 17-0 early, Memphis
Mm-hmm.
was, and then they came back.
Let's see. Oh, no, 35-32. So she pushed on that one. And then she had Cleveland -3. And that definitely did not hit in the NFL game of the week. So she went, let's see what that one. Let's see one. She went 1-2-1. So her record is now 10-7-2. Hey, so TD takes the lead. All right.
No.
Sounds good. Once again, folks, like I said, you can check that out on thealabamatake.com. You can find all of our great podcasts there or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find Greg on Fansided, Bama Hammer, and what was the other one?
I can't think. It's a SEC website portion of it.
Oh, come on. Get that right. It's something down south, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, find Greg on Fansided. And like I said before, tell people about us. And as always, folks, keep it done up real good yourselves out there. Greg, take it easy, man.
You too, buddy.